mean, you see, the constitution has been overthrown. Ssemujju spoke about Mutwe. And Museveni's son said, I'm going to castrate him. He's in the basement running in Runyankore. So here, right here, our wheels, we go and see whether we'll survive, because it's going to be hell. I mean, even a by-election 2 kilometers from the state center, people can be beaten the way they were beaten. I remember 2005, 2006 election, the Honorable Livingstone Okero was representing Chua. He was beaten, his people were beaten, but he's far away. He told his story after election. So really, where we are now, I think we all prepare for the worst, because it will happen. Chaite was speaking about journalists being taken to UCC. But the one who ordered was Muhoozi. He said they should go there and they teach them. And all of you are afraid. You scatter around. There are very few journalists who won't even write about Muhoozi and what he does. But he's taken over control of the country. I mean, his father is officially 80. And I'm saying officially because he said he doesn't know when he was born. One of the daughters assigned him a date in September to celebrate a birthday. And he does celebrate, by the way. A date assigned to him by one of the daughters. So really, when you see bigger NRM people trekking to Saleh, others to the sun, I don't know where our boa goes, maybe to one of the daughters. So that's where we are. That is our situation, unfortunately. And going in the last election, I was still in FDC, I have left. I was responsible for heading nomination teams for 3 elections. In the last election, we were supposed to begin with a prayer at Najanankombe. The candidate was kidnapped before 2 kilometers before Najanankombe and taken. The Honorable Joel they got nominated first. So as we were being nominated, they were being caned because they had finished the nomination. And these things are going to happen. See, that was a rehearsal. We are now under full military dictatorship, where the head of the family is grown old. I think he has, either the son has taken over the responsibility or he has assigned him. The son said in one of the tweets, in Rwanda, they write about him very well. In Uganda, journalists don't write about him very well. I will kill them. You've forgotten. So when you get beaten, and you see, don't make a mistake. They say sometimes he's drunk. He is not. He said in Rwanda, they write very well about him. Here, he will kill you. Now, a few months later, you're complaining that you were beaten in Kawembe. Didn't he tell you? So really, that's where you are, Shamim, and you journalists covering Parliament. You'd have asked Obua, who is a government whip, why did they lock you here when we are beating MPs during the coffee bill debate? He says, yeah, but you the physical person, you were, yeah, that's why I said, I entirely agree. That's why I said that all of us are victims, including you. So I meant it. That's why I'm saying you're a minister, but we are all in Parliament there. So somebody else was responsible. So finally, I think we have a duty, because we're not going to substitute our citizenship. We have to continue fighting for our own survival, but also for the survival of the country. I salute you guys. You must take the risk. Don't give up, but also prepare everybody. I remember when journalists were being beaten in Kawempe, you call someone, the phone is off. You try to call the families, and then eventually say, no, we have now been dumped at the Kawem police station. We are making statements. Statements about what? We don't know. So prepare, as I said, but please don't give up, because we don't have the option to do so. But also be brave. One of the things that must happen on Press Freedom Day is celebrate those who have been brave. I think collectively, if you are, there are things they will not want to do. But when you begin giving up, because for the first time in my adult life, I have never seen journalists, and I'm not blaming anyone, but abandoning the story. Like it happened in Kawempe, because now you have to choose between the story and life. This has never happened in my adult life. Museveni came here when I was 12 years and 4 months old. He has never done something like that. So I also have no idea, but for me, I have written, because Mo said I should die this year, I have written my will. Maybe it will be the only opportunity to communicate my story. So please, thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ibrahim Ssemujju.
Space.
Yes.
As journalists, as an observer.
If soft, it's okay.
I think, Shamim, you ask a question which I want to rephrase and probably say, how hard do journalists find it to report the story of election? Does that capture the thought you had in your mind?
It does capture it, but I want you to address yourself to, if in any way you were part of those that observed the Kawempe elections.
Yes.
If you were able to see what
I did,
what happened, particularly at one of the polling stations at Kawempe Mbogo, where the Istanos were picked from, and the other colleagues, you as an observer, as a person that understands the law and understands what we are supposed to do, how hard do you find it to see us go through that
position?
Yes.
Of course, it's disheartening for me to see journalists beaten in elections, because you see, elections are not supposed to be war. Every time there is violence in elections, then the process is compromised. Then the integrity of the election cannot be spoken about. Then you cannot even report about that election. And most of the information that election observers and the world depends on concerning an election comes through journalists. So if the journalists cannot report the story, then there is no election. Without a journalist, there is no election. Without them doing their work, without them looking behind the scenes to see how is the process arranged, who is participating in the process, highlighting the issues that are happening in that election, then that election is no election. And I will try to contextualize a lot of these things using data. That Ugandans speak 80% of information from radio, and they take 14% of information from social media. Newspapers, 12%. And this is the Afrobarometer data that was produced before we did the 2021 election. The statistics have not changed significantly. They are lying in between there. The internet, 13%. But why do we talk about the media then? Because you see, I'm talking about 80% of information reaching rural and urban areas. For example, if I asked my brother Julius, he's here from the Electoral Commission, how many people will be at each polling station in the rural areas? How many people have been aligned to be in each polling station in the rural areas? And how many are going to be at each polling station in the urban areas? I'm a journalist. And so I'm saying I'm talking about this as a journalist. I need this information to know it. Why? Because numbers matter in an election. The law matters, but numbers matter. Because the numbers will reflect what exactly happened. If the journalist cannot see the connection between the result at the polling station and the national tally center, then there is no connection with the election altogether. If the data that the journalist has picked at the polling station is not being reflected at the National Tally Center, there is a problem with the election. And the person helping us to understand that transition between the polling station and the National Tally Center will be a journalist. I will go and give you a clear example of Kayunga. In Kayunga, there was an election. There's a woman who was called Nakwede. She belonged to the political party of Joel Senyonyi. She knows what she went through. A number of the DR forms she had from the polling station had no connection to what my friend Julius was reading at the National Tally Center. Now, if a journalist is to report that story, how do you begin to report? The story would be, at the polling station, the number of voters were 500. Those who polled were 446. But at the National Tally Center, it is 1,860 who polled at a particular polling station. Now, I will give you more examples from 20. You're going to respond, Julius, don't worry. From 2021. In 2021, I'm giving specific examples. And these stories tallied with what the observers saw. So the observers were at polling stations and discovered that the wrong ballots had been delivered at Nalukolongo TC polling station. The polling station was called Bulwa Polling Station in Wakaliga. And Electoral Commission was alerted that the ballots that had been delivered to Nalukolongo TC at Balua polling station were not the right ballots. So the Electoral Commission went back to look for the correct ballots and bring them. But if the media and the observers had not been at that polling station to see what was happening, then probably the election would have gone ahead with the wrong ballots at the wrong polling station. I'll give a second example. In Nebi, Madi, Okolo, in West Nile polling station, officials delivered the wrong ballot papers for the election of councillors. The right ballots were only delivered much later, after the journalists had reported the story and the observers had highlighted the issue to the Electoral Commission. At Muhoozi sub-county in Mpigi district, elections were suspended. Why? The journalists and observers said the symbols for the candidates and the names and the pictures had been mixed up by the Electoral Commission in printing of the ballots. Do these things happen? They do happen. Will they happen in 2026? I can guarantee they will. But so how do you tell that story? Until you tell that story, and until the data is captured, many years later, you would have forgotten. So the role of the journalist cannot be more emphasized when an election is taking place in terms of promoting transparency, integrity, fairness, and credibility of an electoral process. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Charity Ahimbisiwe.
You see, as we are condemning the brutality occasioned by Mr. Museveni's son, Muhoozi X, and then he gloats about it, beating of journalists, politicians, and so on, then he posts and so on. As we call on everybody to raise their voices, whether it be religious leaders, cultural leaders, civil society, and so on. Because today it is us, tomorrow it might be you. No one knew journalists would be targeted, but now they're also targeted. We don't know if next they're coming after religious leaders and so on. All of us must condemn these things. We are not telling religious leaders or cultural leaders to come out and support opposition or NUP or whatever. No, we're simply saying, let's condemn injustice, because your voices are even more powerful than the voices of we, politicians, but also the international community. Where are you in these matters? I normally see ambassadors, they go and meet Mr. Museveni. I don't know if they talk about these things because they fund his government, but they should be concerned about the human rights violations that are occasioned on the people of Uganda. I see ambassadors going to meet General Muhoozi in his office, fraternizing with him and so on. I don't know if they talk about these things. Next week is the EU Day, and EU ambassadors in Uganda are going to be meeting to celebrate this day. And we understand they have invited General Muhoozi as one of the special guests. Really? And look, it's not in our place to tell ambassadors and diplomats what to do when they come in our country, but I think this will be seen as a mockery to the people of Uganda, because this is somebody who is torturing citizens, who is torturing, whether it be journalists, political actors, and then he celebrates it on social media. And you keep fraternizing with him, embracing him, and so on, you invite him on your functions. We don't think it is right, because the European countries, you normally see them, their parliaments and their leadership speaking against human rights violations and all of these different things. Our hope is that it will be reflected here. Otherwise, the people of Uganda will not understand you when they see you continuously fraternizing with somebody who is persecuting them. It is not right. We hope that their voices will come out through, but also to say we should not be fraternizing with somebody who is meting out violence on the people of Uganda. It's not right at all. Tinicho. Yes, ensonga endala nga tujjukira olunaku lwa bannamawulire, ebimu ku ebyo ebibaluma, of course twogedde kuba tulugunya n'ebirala, naye n'embeera gye bakoleramu. Bannamawulire, ebitongole by'amawulire ebimu, bannamawulire bibawa akasente akatono ennyo, ate n'ako akasente akatono katwala emyezi nga tekajja. Kati munnamawulire omusindise mu field agende akuleetere story, tomuwadde na transport, ate nga wawanvuko w'omutumye, talina na kyakulya lanchi, naye omusuubira okuleeta story, ate nga n'omusaala amaze emyezi nga tafuna musaala. Banaye tubeere bantu nga bwe tuvumirira ekya gavumenti okutulugunya bannamawulire, naye n'ebitongole ebimu biyisa bubi bannamawulire. Ekyo kikyamu. Ate ebitongole bino zi TV ne zi radio naki ezimu zirina wansi wa musingi gwa church. Banaye kino kivoola ne zi Bible ze tusoma. Kikyamu kati tusuubire nti abantu bano baneetereza. There's something I wanted to speak. Twabadde mu process ne bannamateeka baffe okuteeka ekiwandiiko kye tuyita writ of habeas corpus mu kooti, nga tugamba kooti eragire ebitongole ebikuumaddembe okuleeta Eddie Mutwe oba mulamu oba mufu, ye process gye tubaddemu. Naye kaakati amulina tumumanyi, era nga kye tugenda okugamba kooti nti kaakati omuntu ono yavuddeyo n'atulaga n'ekifaananyi ng'amwambudde engoye, amukubyekubye, bw'ayogera ebyekisaagirira ebintu ebitali mu magezi, naye yabirabanga kati asanyuse nnyo, ono Eddie Mutwe abeera wali ng'avimba obunyaba, kati nze mulina ndi mumukubakuba. Katusubire kooti tezigenda ate kutwetolooza, kubanga oluusi kooti nazo zituleetinga down. Twagenda ku kooti ku bannaffe abaabuzibwawo 18, naye kooti, high court, ne bagamba nti mmwe temulese bujulizi bumala okulaga nti abantu bano baabuzibwawo. Tubagamba bakyala baabwe baabano, abaana baabano, zi ID n'ebirala. Kati mwagala tuleete bujulizi ki? Mugambe gavumenti abantu bano ebaweeko embaliriro, baliwa accountability. Of course twateekayo appeal ku nsonga eyo, naye katusubire nti kooti nazo zijja kwanguya ensonga zino, kubanga kati Eddie Mutwe tumanyiwa waali. Muhoozi yagambye ali mu basement ye, tumanyi kikyali mu kumukola n'effujje eddala lyonna. Naye nga neyo bwe tugendayo twagala okuwulira ku bukulembeze mu gavumenti. Minister of Internal Affairs General Kahindo Tafiire atera okwogera ku nsonga zino okutulugunya abantu naki. Katusubire taasirike kubanga ono mutabani wa Museveni, twagala omuwulire kuba kakati bino bimukwatako n'abakulembeze abalala. Ssebo Mwami Museveni mutabani wo bino bye wamutuma okola, kubanga ffe twavumirira n'ekyokugamba nti omuwadde ekifo ekyenkizo bwe kityo, kubanga mutabani wo wuuyo ndumizi w'amagye, mukyala we minisita, mukoddomi we naye alina byakwasaganya, muganda we Salimu Sale oyo naye ali awo alinga alina gavumenti n'ebirala. Kakati ssebo bino bye watuma mutabani wo okola okutukolako effujjo ne bannayuganda. Olunaku lwa bannamawulire olw'ensi yonna lwe tuyita World Press Freedom Day lugenda okubeerawo olunaku olw'enkya. Kirungi nti bannamawulire wano ku Parliament mugambika mutuule ne bannamawulire mu bitongole ebyenjawulo, naffe abakulembeze tuwaayemuko olunaku olwaleero nga bwe tujjukira olunaku luno. Naye ensonga ez'enkizo ennyo ensangi zino munnamawulire takyeyagalira mu mulimu gwe. Lwaki? Bannamawulire kati nabo baafuuka kimpe enkyekubiri. ffe twakolanga mawulire nagayingira 26 naye nga kolera ddala paka lwe navaayo nenyingira politics naye nga munnamawulire omanyi ogenda okola story yo terejja kusumbuwa waawo yes nga tulaba biseera ebyo babesi gye babakuba naki ne munnamawulire ng'asigala ali munnamawulire ennaku zino kati bakuba just ffe abali mu opposition ne bano bannamawulire ne babagwira ne babakuba mizibu ng'omuntu omulabira ddala munnamawulire akutte kamera ayambadde press jacket n'ebirala byonna n'okubira ddala oyo kitegeeza nti kakati bannamawulire bafuuse target lwaki lwakulaga line fujjo erikolebwa bamukwata mundu kati namwe babakuba lwaki mubiraga ate nga mumutukiriza buvunaanyizibwa bwammwe ekintu kino tukivumirira tetunalaba gavumenti ng'evaayo ddala okuvumirira ensonga zino n'okukangavula abo abazze bakola effujjo ku bannamawulire kati akalulu ke twakavaamu akakawempe north bannamawulire baawambibwa ne bakubibwa kamera zaabwe ne zitwalibwa kugamba effujjo erya buli kika naye ne kaakano tetunawulirayo yadde omuntu omu nti ono avunaaniddwa ono akwatiddwa oba atwaliddwa mu kkooti ku misango gino ekiragira ddala nti gavumenti kino kyeyagala oba oli awo babasindika kakati mugende mukubire ddala bannamawulire abo nga bannamawulire tubasaba nga bwe tulwana nammwe mutayize ku nsonga zino abantu bano baleme bawutula ekya ne mugenda ne mbakavaringa ne bisigalanga bwe bityo luli baabakuba ne bayita bakama bammwe ne bazannya mukaawo kapiira ne biggwa ne baddamu ne babawutula ebintu bino birina okukoma obuzibu bwe tulina nti n'abalina okukangavula abakola effujjo lino ate babatendereza butendereza mwalaba mu kalulu k'ekawempe Muhoozi tabani wa Museveni kuba kati ye muduumizi w'amagye yavaayo ku Twitter n'ateekayo nti abakubye abantu bano mwakubye bulungi buli akubye obulungi ngenda mwongera amadaala ngenda mulinnyisa amadaala mu kifo ky'okuvaayo okukangavula kati ye mentalite ye era nejjuuzi mwamulabye tuli mu kunoonya edi Mutwe yawambibwa family temanyiwa waali bannamateeka tugezaako okugoberera ensonga zino Muhoozi n'afulumya ekifaananyi wuuno mulina nga bamwambudde engoye bamukubye ku bifeeso giraba eriko ebiwundu Muhoozi n'agamba wuuno wano nze mulina era tukyamukubira ddala mu bumenyi bw'amateeka obuswaliza ddala ebintu bino in fact birina n'okusukka nti just NUP oba opposition fenna tulina okuvumirira ebintu bino nina abantu abamu benda oba bakulembeze mu NRM oba bawigizi baabwe hanga basanyuka oyo edi Mutwe mumukubire ddala naki n'atamanya nti kakati ono Muhoozi akola effujjo enkya naawe bw'onoomunyiiza ajja kukola kintu kyekimu fenna tulina kwogeza ddoboozi ery'omwanguka okugaana ebintu bino yes waliwo abagamba nti Muhoozi abikola bino ng'atamidde oba ki omuntu ne bw'oba otamidde eventually ettamiro likuggwako naye ye buli bwagamba nti agenda kukola kino akituukiriza buli bwagamba agenda kukola kino akituukiriza so abeera tasaaga ate nga ye muduumizi w'amagye kati fenna ng'eggwanga kitukwatako si ffe just ffeka abali mu opposition oba abapolitician ne civil society bannaddiini abakulembeze b'ennono fenna era twebaza abo abasiga abazze boogera tusaba tusigale nga amaloboozi gaffe gano gavaayo ffe tetubagamba nti muveeyo muwagire NUP people power naki nga munnaddiini mukulembeze w'ennono n'abalala naye tugamba nti amaloboozi gammwe gankizo nnyo munnaddiini archbishop father sheeka bw'obeera nga muli mu swala muli mu saavisi oba naki ne mwogera ku nsonga zino eddoboozi lyammwe lisinga n'eryaffe so tetugamba nti muveeyo muwagire NUP oba opposition naye tugamba tuvumirire ebikolwa bino ebikyamu kubanga fenna bitunyigiriza kati basooka kuba ffe bannabyabufuzi kati batandise kuba ne bannamawulire ekyali kitabangawo tetumanyi oba enkya bagenda kuba bannaddiini oba baani kakati fenna tuyimuse amaloboozi gaffe ku nsonga zino okuvumirira effujjo erikolebwa n'abantu abalala twogera ku international community bambassadors tera balaba bagenzi ne basinkana mu Museveni tetumanyi biki bye boogerako naye simanyi oba ebintu bino babirowoozaako ne bagamba naye sebo fe abakuvugirira nga gavumenti yo bino bimukola bikyamu tetumanyi abamu tubalaba bagenda ne basinkana Muhoozi ku ofiisi ye wali ne beekubisa ebifaananyi wiiki ejja bagenda kubeerawo olunaku baluyita EU Day bambasada okuva mu EU wane Uganda bagenda kuba n'omukolo twakitegedde bayise ne Muhoozi Kainerugaba ng'omu ku bagenyi ab'enkizo tubagamba naye mwebigenda mu maaso temubiraba ono gwe muyise ng'omugenyi ow'enkizo ennyo temulaba byakola atulugunya abantu ate n'abiteekayo mu ngeri y'ekisaagiriro kwegamba ye bimunyumira ate nga amawanga gammwe gye muva eyo mu Europe tutera okubala palamenti zammwe abakulembeze nga boogera ku ddembe ly'abantu nga bavumirira okutulugunya abantu katusuubire nti nabo weewaawo tetubagamba nti batuwagire obusi buvunaanyizibwa bwabwe naye baveeyo nabo n'eddoboozi lyabwe ery'omwanguka abantu bano babeewale kuba kati omuntu ali mu kutulugunya abantu ate g'oyise ku mukolo gwo ng'omugenyi ow'enjawulo naki nedda bannayuganda nabo tubalage nti ensonga ezibaluma zibakwatako oba oliawo kyekibaleeta wano.
Okay, ng'ekibiina musaako